Yo, what's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, and this is the C3 Podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where we bring that Panther fan talk to you every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock. And I'm here with my homeboys. That's right, that freaking Puerto Rican Joe Riolano. How are you?
What is the deal? It is live and in full effect tonight. We have got so much to cover. It's going to be a great and exciting show. I've had quite a busy day, but all I've thought about all day is this podcast, and I'm ready to bring it.
Way to bring it, son. Mel Mayock in the house. He's
What's
back
that?
in action.
That's it. I'm back. You can't keep me down, man. It must be Tuesday night. Hey, real quick, I want to give a shout out. Every Tuesday night we have a lot of fun. We come in, but we got to give props to the guys that give us the right to do this and the protection to do this. A C3 follower, Joe Satin, is being deployed today as we speak. So I wanted to give him a shout out. Tell him we're proud of you, and Panther Nation's got you back, man. Prayers.
Word up, man. Well, it wouldn't be the C3 Podcast if we didn't have some problems, some issues, but we're here, and we got our buddy, Sam. What's up, my man? Smoke Wagon, glad to have you back around.
What's up, gents and ladies? Glad to be part of it tonight.
We've got a Power Pack show, guys. This is episode 15.13, I believe. It's been a while since I made the graphic, but it's Draftniks and Gettle-Rhymes, guys. We have a Power Pack show, guys. We're going to be talking the draft, breaking that down. We're going to be diving into the press conference with Dave Gettleman today. We're going to be looking at what we think the Panthers are going to do, what we should expect for Thursday, the big night. But also, we've got some interesting guests, too. We're going to check in with ECU wide receiver coach Donnie Kirkpatrick and get the skinny on Justin Hardy, my boy, the man with the golden gloves. We also, late in the show, got a little, we're going to touch base with a Panther great, you should say, writer for Panthers.com, Joe Menzer, Bleacher Report, Winston-Salem Journal. And Aaron, I got to say thanks for bringing that to us. You lined that up, and you did a great job with it, and I can't wait to bring some of it to you tonight.
Oh, it's a lot of fun, man. Let's get to it. Lots to cover.
We do have a lot to cover, and in fact, I'm glad we're all here.
How we doing? Everybody all right? Okay, good. All right, we're all in our places with bright, shiny faces.
We are all in our places with bright, shiny faces. That is our boy Dave Gettleman. I don't know if you guys noticed, but part of the reason the show Draftniks, because we're hip, and that's the hip thing to do now. We got a good story up by Ken Dye about how Mel Mayock is hip to be cool. He's a Draftnik. But also, I don't know if you got the Gettle-Rhyme part, but here's a little clip from Dave Gettleman today.
We don't want to be uncomfortable putting a cat on a guy's hat.
I like that.
Dr. Gettleman brings us cat on a hat. So we got a little Dr. Seuss for you tonight. Guys, I think we need to go ahead and just jump in, like you said, and talk about what's hot.
Austria. Good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Oh, I'm just getting warm. Here's Charlie facing the fire, and there's George hiding in Big Daddy's pocket.
Dylan and Dylan, because I spit hot fire.
Take a flamethrower to this place.
What's hot on C3? And guys, I don't think there's anything hotter than the NFL 2015 draft that is jumping off on Thursday night. We've got a big draft party scheduled here live and in effect. We had a successful one last season, but just think how far C3 has come since then. So you can imagine that it is going to be hopping this Thursday night. Mel, how excited are you for Thursday?
Man, this is like Christmas in April. Other than the season, this is the best week. I love it, man. I go to bed thinking about it. I wake up thinking about trades we could make. This is it, man. I did my first mock draft after last year's draft. And I can tell you who I picked, Landon Collins. I haven't changed much in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't changed much. Sam, how excited are you about Thursday night?
I'm excited of the fact that this team from last year is just. I know people use the term reach for a need, or we're not one player away, but I look at it as this team really is just a few players, pieces, parts away from taking that next step. You got to factor in who is it Carolina's got to get around in the playoffs. That would be Seattle and Green Bay. It's probably the two most dominant teams in the NFC right now. Just flashback to last year's playoff loss in Seattle. If this team had a better left tackle, Rip Byron Bell, had another good piece in the secondary to help with those, shots over the top,
Mm-hmm.
and had another wide receiver that could spread that secondary of Seattle's out thinner, make them respect a little bit more couldn't just play as close as they was. We could have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, everybody wants to play. I don't like the smoke and mirrors and we're going to take best player available. I think it's a real mixture of both. I think Dave Gettleman likes saying that. I think it's his mantra. But the reality of the thing is GMs draft to fill holes on their roster because the name of the game in the NFL is win. And you cannot justify taking 6 players because they're the best, athletes or best at their position, all they happen to fall in our lap, when, say, you've got 4 or 5 of those already on the roster, so you're just doubling up on those, but still not getting the pieces to put you over the top. So I'm excited for this year. I think the coyness of Gettleman, but I think he's also not dumb. I think he's smart. He knows what this roster needs. He knows who he's got to beat in order to achieve the main goal, and that is to win a Super Bowl. So I'm excited. I'm excited to the fact that the pieces are there. Now, if he reaches for one or not, that'll be his call. That's why he gets paid the big money and also can take the heat for it. But I'm excited for the pieces this team needs are in this draft. Fortunately enough, that you can almost like bookmark it like this, and this. And this team is upgraded over a weekend.
What I get from that, Mel, and I can't go a week without saying it, but if we're that close, I got to say
That's good news, people.
That's good news, people. Joey, I know that you've been pumped all day. You've had a typical Joey long, well-traveled, emotional day, and we want to give a little shout-out to your family, and I hope that they're weathering, Joey lost a family member, so we're sorry to hear that, but I think that, that's, we go through these things, and we're glad that you were there for your family. But I guess this is not the best segue for that because I was going to say Mel brought up Landon Collins from his draft. And he's kind of stuck to Landon Collins. But you know what I got to say to that, Joey? And I want you to speak on the draft, but this is what I got to say. I don't know if you could hear it, but I will jack it up a little bit louder for you. Oh, sorry. I had to go there.
You're always you're always Mr. Sensitive.
Sorry, I had to go there. Joey, we're glad to have you here. We're glad that you are. So, are you excited for Thursday, bud?
I am. I'm very excited. I think I agree a lot. I agree with a lot of what Smoke Wagon said, but I make this argument that we are a few pieces away. But if last year's playoff game versus Seattle would have been in Charlotte, we might have been good enough last year to pull off a win against them at home. If we were at home.
Let me interrupt for 1 second. Is that if that game was in Charlotte last year, it would have ended 15-12. Seattle wins.
Perhaps.
Sorry, guys. How many times do we have to replay that?
Right. It's always the same story. But
hey, if you want to see a great mock draft, I know where you can see one. Me and Smoke Wagon got mock draft 3.0 fresh off the presses out there on Carolina Cat Chronicles.
Man, you guys are draft machines. You really are. You are processors of the draft processes. Anyway, you guys are amazing.
But you know what? Who's really amazing? The professor who actually took all of our scribble, all of our notes, and made it the baddest looking mock draft out there in the interweb. Kudos to you, Mr. Graphics.
Yes, sir.
That's why he's a boss.
That's right. I'm the boss, yo. Tell me, are we that? So you said that you think that if that was a home game, we would have been in better shape. But we were outmatched. And I think that Sam's right. Is that they didn't have to respect the passing game at all. Benjamin was tired by that point. You could tell that he had slowed down. His production had declined. There was no running on that team that game. We were one-dimensional, and I think that Cam had a pretty good game. So are we close? Are we as close as Sam says in your eyes, Joe? And can this be remedied by just adding some rookies?
Yeah, I think we are very close. We are just a couple of pieces away. If we get the right rookies, that's where Gettleman was talking about today, which we'll get to the interview, but he mentioned the help he received from the scouting coordinating team, and then he even mentioned Ron Rivera and the help that they had provided in breaking down film, just evaluating talent. And I think they've got their eyes on certain people that can make a difference for us. And if we're able to get a couple of guys who bring the level of play that Benjamin brought last year, how he just jumped in and started making plays, we are going to be dangerous.
All right, so I think that let's jump into today. The biggest news is Dave Gettleman addressed the media today in what was a typical, very honest presentation of where the Carolina Panthers are at and what his strategy going forward is. And I do want to come back to something about Sam said about what we're talking about with the idea of BPA, because I do think that best player available is never just true best player available. It's best player available plus need as a factor into that. But what we know what the greatest need for the Carolina Panthers has been in everybody's eyes is the tackle. And what we're going to do is I'm going to play the left tackle spot. I'm going to play a little clip from Dave Gettleman, and then I want us to talk about what the odds are about us going tackle in the first round, and if that would help and propel us, or if that's the right move. So here's Dave Gettleman on the tackle in this draft.
When we talked to you in January, I think you said that this was a pretty strong tackle group, offensive tackle. As you've gone through the process, was that confirmed for you? And do you think you can get a long-term type of left tackle type at 25?
There were, Joe, there were a couple of guys that we felt were much better rights than lefts. When you go through the whole process of evaluating the film and really studying what it is, there are a couple guys that are lefts that we feel are better suited to playing on the right side. But do we feel we can get a solid left tackle? There's a chance. Last year I think 5 went in the first 19 picks. It's possible that could happen again. So is there a chance? There's always a chance. But is it, again, it's a best player available scenario for us. I got killed last year because we didn't take a tackle at all. And maybe it's my old stubborn streak, but I'm not reaching for player. I'm not doing it.
So that's Dave Gettleman talking about the tackle spot, and me and Joe are going to quiz our draft gurus on this. Mel, how do you feel about this? He didn't sound like the tackle at 25 was, a lock. In fact, he sounded like he was straying away from that idea that that's where we're going. Who did you have in the mock draft, and what do you think about the tackle class in general and them at 25?
Well, in the mock draft out at CarolinaCatChronicles.com, I had Landon Collins, the strong safety out of Alabama. But I think he's real honest, man. I mean, this guy does not pull punches. And he went on to say in the interview or in the press conference that he thought there were 4, maybe 5 starting caliber left tackles or true left tackles in this draft. And you heard him say 5 went in the first 19 last year, and it could happen again this year. So he's not going to take somebody who's going to be a weak left tackle and make that mistake. If that person's not there, then he's going to – I mean, there's other pieces to get, like Landon Collins, like hopefully Todd Gurley, our guy. There's also Rashad Perriman, the wide receiver. There's a lot of other directions he can go. So I don't think it's a lock at all that he's going left tackle. I think the odds are less than 50-50 we're going offensive tackle.
All right, I got a question for you, Mr. Smokewagon. I know Gettleman gave us an answer, but I want to see if yours lines up with his. How many of the tackles, offensive tackles, that are predicted to go in the first round can actually jump in from day one and play left tackle?
Well, it depends on scheme. But from day one, first round offensive tackles, there's 4. Humphreys, Flowers, Owebe, and Pete. And I'll jump in and start at left tackle. Schreff on some teams would play there in maybe a need, but he's probably going to start off as a guard. And also Collins would either start off as guard or right tackle. So there's your 6 supposed first rounders. But when he said that's how many he sees, you got to take in mind that's 6 tackles, but Steam's building, there's going to be, not including those that everybody knows, they're saying Fisher, Jake Fisher from Oregon, Donovan Smith, the tackle from Penn State, and you got T.J. Clemmings still, and Cameron Irving. So that makes right at 10 offensive linemen that all have had experience playing tackle are now going in the first round. And there's a lot of steam building behind this. But I picked in mine and Mel's in the Cat Chronicles, the C3 mock, I have us moving up for Andrew S. Pete. I've been following this story a long time, and I think if he gets by New York and he falls, I think, even though Gettleman said I'm not going up, Andrews Pete is the only, if you dug it deep enough in the internet, Andrews Pete was the only prospect that they brought in town, not just one day. He was here for like 2 or 3 days in a row.
It'd be a great pick.
When he came in, he was here from like the 13th, 14th, and 15th. 3 days. They worked him out. They worked him out. He went to dinner, worked him out again. And I think he's the number 1 player on Gettleman's board.
Is he really a left tackle, though?
Well, everybody's entitled. People see things differently, and I'm open to all forms of criticism because that's what makes you better. You reevaluate yourself. You take other people's what they see. Try to learn. You always got to keep learning because people make mistakes. We're human. In my personal opinion, doesn't cost a dime. I'm not getting paid for this or nothing. Not trying to prop nobody up. Andrew S. Pete is a Hall of Fame left tackle. He is a generational left tackle.
Wow.
That is because I say this, and you see over the last few days, people is now trying to knock him on, knock him, oh, he's this or he ain't that good, or all that guy done was go to Stanford, start at left tackle, and never be removed from the spot. They have had head recruits come in there. They're a big program. They recruit the best players in the country. Known for offensive linemen.
He's a big man. I tell you, the nickname I have for him is Andres the Giant.
I'm sorry. interrupt.
If you ever doubt this, yes, he had some down moments this year.
Everybody
Remember,
does.
people do have down moments. Players in the NFL, they have off seasons. It happens.
Yeah.
I urge everybody to go, if you can, go rewatch not this year's game, but last year's game where he dominated Anthony Barr of UCLA. And Anthony Barr, if I recall correctly, was a top 10 pick to Minnesota?
Minnesota, yeah.
And he balled out in the NFL in his rookie.
Hey, guys, did you see the Draft Tech mock that came out yesterday? You see who I had there because he fell all the way down. And that's one of the two people I would pick, one of the very few people I would pick ahead of Landon Collins was Andrus Peat. He fell all the way to us at 25 in that mock. And I put a nice little video clip of him up there, man. That guy, if he doesn't make it in the NFL, he can go work at IHOP because he sure can pancake people.
Is he so...
Oh, come on, man. Somebody's got to laugh at that one.
is his biggest, I guess, attribute, and other than his size, his footwork? Because I've heard people talk about his footwork, and now he's like a dancer for his size. You know, he's got dancer's feet.
That and those legs of his,
like tree trunks.
Besides the footwork, he is extremely one of the most powerful lower-bodied NFL players I've ever seen.
He better be.
I mean,
he's huge.
If he gets set, it's like trying to hit one of those, trying to move one of those concrete medians they put out when they're doing highway construction. It's the best example I can give. And he's super strong in his lower body. And I think, like I said, personally, this is my opinion, I think he's the #1 player on this team's draft board. And I think that's what Gettleman hinted to today. They asked him, is there one player you were hoping falls? And he said yes. He actually said yes, so there's one. I don't know if he will fall. I don't know if they'll reach. I have them reaching to go get him because from personal experience, I can't trust Gettleman after the lines he spouted last year. We believe in Bell and Chandler. I don't believe in O'Hare and Martin. I mean, I don't. I mean, they might be, all right, but we need better than all right.
We do.
I mean, we need a future there. Not a 2-year deal O'Hare and a 1-year deal Martin. And Rimmer's done good, but Rimmer's is a UDFA that, they have no – look at the best way I can explain this is go in the NFL, look at the rosters, look at the good teams, look at their tackles. I mean, Green Bay, Bulaga is over there in the
But, Smoke Wagon, one thing you got to remember is they didn't get these guys by reaching. So if he can get Pete, if he can get one of these top flight guys, he'll get them. But he's not going to get somebody that truly is a right tackle or somebody like T.J. Clemens, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to go get him.
Oh, no, I agree on Clemens 100%. He ain't going to reach for Clemens. Clemens is a second-round pick to me.
Yeah.
Do you see him reaching, like going to get, like making a move, kind of reaching to go get him, or just hoping that he's going to fall?
I think with Aaron Galco said on WFNZ earlier, or at the end of last week, that guy don't say nothing. He's really in the know. There's one guy I really trust. He never says nothing till he has some fact behind it. And he said that the rumors was Pete was the #1 tackle on their board, and they were moving up to get him.
Let me ask you this. One question is, what's it going to take to move up and to say what you thinking you got to get to 16?
One of our first. Well, here. I'll quote Galco. He broke it down and said, "Take our first, our third, and our fifth." And after reading Gettleman today, this ain't a really. When we look at it, ain't a great draft. I want a $10 bill. I want the $100 bill. I want to make a statement this year. I want to show Cam Newton, we got your back. We're about to pay you. You're not gonna get blindsided no more. I got this wall sitting over here to protect you. I don't know if it'll happen. That I'm not a GM. Gettleman might be stern in his ways. Say, I'll wait. And if he does wait, something that's going to come out Thursday, I'll go ahead and give a little tip. I changed my pick from Pete and the staff Panthers picks. I put Awaby. because I think a Wavy would be a nice grab at 25, and I'd be happy with that. I like Pete. I'm just a personal fan of Pete. I think he's going to be a transcendent left tackle in the NFL.
Joe, you mentioned his footwork. I was listening to this podcast, and it's, I think, from the audible.com. The football guys, I think, do it. It's really good. It's called On the Couch with this dude. The guy's named Sigmund something. It's really good. It's kind of like a heady fantasy football. It's almost too heady for my taste, but they do a good job. And one of the things they were talking about Pete, and they were saying, look, some games he didn't look as, you turned on the film and he didn't do as well as what Sam is saying when he dominated the guy from UCLA. But the thing that he said that he stuck out to him was his recovery ability when a guy did make a move on him. And, the idea that you're going to be able to that things are going to go right from the beginning on a play all the time at the left tackle position, that's the whole point of the position, is that you got first and second and third moves that guys are playing the chess game. They're going fast, then they're going slow, then they're mixing it up with power and finesse and things like this. So maybe with that footwork, if you add into that, Joe, that recovery ability to when he gets kind of beat for a second, that he can get back into a reasonable position. Joe, do you think that is something that you look at when you think about footwork at offensive linemen?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. It's about being able to move your feet into a position where you can counter the move that the defensive end is using, whether it be a spin, a rip, or a straight bull rush. Being able to get your feet, because your body's going to go where your feet go. So if you're able to move your feet into position to counter that, then, I mean, really, that's what you want. That's it.
All right, now, longtime follower Susan, she's getting on you there, Smoke Wagon. She says, lay off her Rimmers. Rimmers, that's her guy.
I like Rimmers. Rimmers done a hell of a job. He did, but you could tell at the end of last year, teams got tape on him. I mean, it's all about the tape. It's all about, just like with any craft you do. You study, you remember, you learn, you work on things. You could tell teams started figuring it out, and he's kind of started to waver there at the end of last year. He'd be a great depth guy, no doubt. If you need a swing tackle off the bench, keep Rimmers. Hell yeah, I have no problem with that. But is Rimmers, the question everybody's got to ask themselves, is Rimmers, Martin, and O'Hare the future? And next year's offensive tackle class is weak.
Now, who is O'Hare?
Ower.
Yeah, I call him O'Hare.
No worries.
Nobody knows.
And the thing that gets me is next year's offensive tackle group, right now on paper, is really weak, and it's going to be thin. You got Taylor Decker from Ohio State, who's probably going to be the number 1 tackle, and a guy named Jack Conklin from Michigan State, probably the number 2 tackle. Then after that, there's really nothing.
It's a drop off.
There's next year.
You got Ronnie Stanley.
Oh, and Ronnie Stanley of Notre Dame. I'm sorry. Yes, you have 3 guys. 3 guys, and then, but all the ACC guys are gone. All these Florida State, linemen are gone. Duke's couple good linemen are gone. I mean, Texas A&M's linemen, they're gone. All the good linemen are going to go this year, or for at least another draft. I mean, next year will be thin. So,
all right, let's jump in and talk about this idea of trading up. Here's Gettleman on trading up, and we'll see if not only just the concept of it, but who for. We've talked about the offensive tackle. Here's him today in the presser.
2 more picks this year than you had last year. Last year you had 2 more picks. Does that perhaps tempt you a little bit more? I know you've made your thoughts on trading clear over the last couple of years, but you have more to work with now.
It gives you pause. It makes you consider those things. Yes, to answer your question, Bill. Yes, it's something that we'll have in our heads, and it's definitely doable. It's funny. Last year would have been the draft to have 9 picks now. Being greedy that I am, it gives you the opportunity to move. To answer your question, having those 2 comps in the 5th. For example, if we were to move the 5th, we only lose 8 slots. I think it's 8, 7 or 8. something like that. But anyhow, you're not going to blink, if to move a fifth because of what you have in the comps. And the other thing is,
Mel, that's him on the extra picks. We got 9 picks. We got the ability. We've got some flexibility. Dave Gettleman we've heard a lot this week. We've heard him been ranked among one of the top GMs. Jamie Dukes came on WFNZ I think it was this morning maybe, ripping Dave Gettleman as a GM, particularly with the offensive line in mind with that. First, third, and a fifth, what he's saying there, Mel, is Dave Gettleman ready to make that bold statement in your mind to get the guy he needs?
First of all, keep it in perspective. Where did Jamie Dukes play, and who's he a fan of?
Who did he play for?
Oh, the Falcons, the Dirty Birds.
Yeah.
Can't stand that.
Yeah. He also talked up Tampa Bay last year.
I can't stand
They had a
anything
good
that guy
team.
says. He's always pro Atlanta, always anti Carolina. So
Okay.
all right, but so your question is, do I think we're ready to move up?
And do you think that Dave Gettleman's ready to make a statement in this draft instead of trying to show off his deep round ability, but say, I can go and get the guy that it's going to take to make a big difference on this team?
Personally, I think he's going to stand pat at 25. Smoke Wagon and I disagree, but we'll see what happens Thursday night, right? And that's what we got out there in the mock draft. I think he stands there because this is not as deep of a draft as last year, but that to me, that makes a third-round pick even that much more important. I think this is a top-heavy draft. The top 3 rounds, you can get a Justin Hardy in the 3rd round. So am I willing to take Justin Hardy and use him to move up and get Pete? No, not really. I'll take Landon Collins and Justin Hardy instead of Pete by himself.
All right, let's here's Dave Gettleman on the running back scenario for this team, because a lot of people do not think that we should take a running back. I'm wholly in favor of taking a running back in the 1st round if the right guy is there. Here's Dave Gettleman on the running back scenario for the Carolina Panthers.
What are the odds that you draft a running back, and how high?
well, it's again, Tom. I mean, you guys know our running back depth situation. We've got Jonathan. He finished very strong. We've got we've got Fozzie, and we feel really good about him. And can he handle the 1st and 2nd down load? With a legitimate split between he and Jonathan. Because he's never had to do it. He hasn't had to do it at the full level. So is there a chance if he's the right guy? Yeah. This whole mentality of the devaluation of the running back position is there's perception and there's reality. It's funny. We were talking about it this morning, and I took a spin through the last few drafts, and really the fact of the matter is there hasn't been a great back. Haven't been a plethora of great running backs. So to talk about the running back position, there's definitely, a lot of value there. I mean, and the running backs is a very deep position this year as well. It really is a nice group to pick through. Again, some nice different style guys that fit us, guys that'll don't fit us, and it'll be fun to watch them play something against, it's for another team. But there's depth there, and there's nothing to say that in my mind, there's no round that I'm not taking in this round.
Joe, how do you feel about our running back scenario? Like how we are right now, where we sit.
I think we have some good running backs. The question, of course, with Jonathan Stewart is his health. If he plays like he played at the end of last year, then we're going to be dominant in the run game because he was a force late in the season. He does need a back to give him a breather. And is Fozzie Whitaker that guy? I think he can be. I think he can, in spot situations, be that back. But can he carry the load like Jonathan Stewart can? No, I don't think so. So, yes, we probably do need to address this. And that's where I want to come in and ask you guys. Smoke Wagon, I'll start with you since you're the guest. Where can we get value at the running back position in the second or third rounds?
I say third and fourth. There will be a couple guys there. Buck Allen, Javoris Buck Allen from USC, they've met with him. Who else? The David Cobb is his name, Minnesota running back. They've met with him. I mean, that's where the value will be, the third and fourth rounds. I think Gettleman was looking at the running back class this year, kind of like he looked at the wide receiver class last year. Does that make sense to you, Mel? I think that's the premium position probably this draft finally. I think we're not the only team that's going to look for running backs either.
I think Atlanta is big time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. I think Atlanta will be looking one, and Tampa Bay. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay picked one up too.
Yeah, and Jacksonville, who we see in the first week. In person, may I add.
But to truly answer your question, Joe, I like a running back out of the University of Texas by the name of Malcolm Brown. He has the same name as the big defensive tackle. They both have the same name. Malcolm Brown from Texas, that running back, Malcolm Brown, wears the same number as Stewart, number 28. If you go to Draft Breakdown or just see some highlights of him on the internet, he is a physical runner. He knows the lanes to hit. Watch his vision. He hits every crease perfectly. He's not the fastest guy, but he sheds tackles. In the NFL, you don't have to be this blazer. Look at Marshawn Lynch. He breaks 3 or 4 tackles, gets 20-yard runs. You get a few 20-yard runs a game, you're punishing somebody. I like Malcolm Brown around 4th, 5th round as my value running back this draft.
Nice.
All right, we're going to go ahead, and we're just churning through time here. We're going to go ahead and play a little quick Finish That Thought, but we're going to change it up this week on Finish That Thought, and I'm just going to ask each one of you a Finish That Thought. We're not going to all do the same one. So we'll all do a different one, and I will start with Mel with the first one. So here we go with a little.
Sometimes I just don't get people. Human beings are so weird. Who talks in front of a camera by themselves for fun? Who thought that was a good idea? These ideas, some of these things that you use every day. Who's the guy or a girl that was like, this makes no sense. Good idea. That's a good idea.
That's right, folks. It's time for Finish That Thought, and where I pose a thought to my boys and they finish it. Real simple concept. Mel, if we don't get a tackle in the first round of this NFL draft, go.
That means we got a great player at another position. No sweat. Gettleman's going to fill it in somewhere.
All right. Joe, finish that thought. Wide receiver. We get one. Do we get a wide receiver? We get a wide receiver before the third round. You will be.
If we get a wide receiver before the third round, I will be happy as long as it's Justin Hardy.
As long as it's Justin Hardy, the man with the golden gloves. In fact, you guys stuck around. We got in just a moment. We're going to be talking to Donnie Kirkpatrick, wide receiver coach of the ECU Pirates, about Justin Hardy. Smoke, finish that thought. If the Carolina Panthers draft a running back in the first round, you will be.
I'll be good if it's Todd Gurley.
Yes, sir.
Guys,
that's what I'm talking about.
We're going to have to trade a first, a third, 2
You sound like you're a girly man. You sound like you're a girly man there, Smoke Wagon.
Keep your hands off my girly.
Let's be honest. He's a transitional player.
All right, so here's what we do. We trade our first, our third, our fifth, move up and get Pete, and then we trade our second, fourth, 2 other fifths. I know we can't, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. 6th and 7th, and next year 2nd to get Gurley.
And we just have a two-player draft. Call it a night.
Yeah, go Mike Ditka style.
You know what'd be awesome is that if the draft show live was the end of the draft for the Carolina Panthers. We just got all first-round picks. Weekend over, guys. Take the weekend off, fellas. All right.
We would party, man. We would party.
Okay, you know what? We have failed to put any plugs in tonight, so we got to jump in there. Hey, guys, if you want to tweet the show, go ahead and hit us up with the hashtag C3. Follow us at @cat_chronicles. You know, go ahead and sub up on YouTube. You know the deal. Facebook, Twitter, all that jazz. Help us out. We could use the help. Growing Panther Nation, that's what we do. By fans, for fans, because without us, football is just a kid's game. Guys, also, RoaringRiot.com is the place to go if you want to go and hang out with Carolina Panther fans and watch the Panthers on the road against inferior teams, because they all are, folks. 31 teams inferior. Carolina Panthers, roll with your boys to Jacksonville, roll with your boys to Memphis, go represent in dirty Atlanta and take over their town. RoaringRiot.com, guys. That's where we're going to be. That's who we roll with. We suggest you do the same. Guys, we've got a ton, and man, we're going to fly through this. One of the, we've mentioned over and over that Justin Hardy, you know he's my guy. The man with the golden gloves, the ECU Pirate, the all-time FBS receiver, leading receiver with
all-time.
Yeah, all-time from little old East Carolina University. Don't say that too loud. Yeah, don't say that too loud. ECU fans are crazy on you. You say, oh, we ain't a big program. They act like you insulted them. It's kind of like the Carolina Panther fans with national media. We always feel insulted. But recently, guys, I put out a story, and I'm pretty proud of it. Kind of dug deep into the newspaper archives, and I've been trying to find out, you know, I mean, we've covered Justin Hardy. I've covered him closely. You know, we had the campaign, the countdown to bring him to Carolina, and I went to his pro day, watched him, all his home games, been able to speak with him. He's a really great guy. And what stuck out to me most was his work ethic. And I wanted to write a piece about him on how hard of a worker he was. And that's why he's been so successful. That's why he's been successful at the Combine, exceeding expectations. And what this piece really kind of morphed and evolved into something special, because I said, man, I want to reach out to some Carolina football players of the past and talk about some guys that have meant that they have seen where work ethic propelled them to success in the NFL, where it wasn't just about the physical numbers, but what they put in gave them a great career. So I asked Frank Garcia, I asked Will Witherspoon, former linebacker, and Will Witherspoon reaches back out to me and says immediately, Ricky Prohl. And I had always wanted to make a comparison to Ricky Prohl and Justin Hardy, but I didn't have anything other than just kind of like, you know, when I was a kid, it just reminds me of him. I didn't have anything substantive. And so this put me on the new track, guys, and I went digging deep, and I found out that there were a lot of similarities between Ricky Prohl and Justin Hardy. The same exact 40 time, both went 4.56 at the Combine. Both are 5'11"-ish. You know, each claims a half inch that they may or may not have.
What number was Prohl picked at?
Prohl was picked at number 58 overall in the third round. Do we have a pick around there, guys?
Right at 57, baby.
We have a 57th. We also have a third round pick. And one of the things is you heard some things. In fact, you know what? So what this did is put me onto one of my favorite stories I've ever written, and it got a tremendous reception. It's been very popular, but part of the reason that I think it turned out so well is I was able to catch up with with Justin Hardy's receiver coach and ask him about some of these things. And one of the things I asked him right away was about this Ricky Prohl connection. Here is Donnie Kirkpatrick, assistant head coach of the ECU Pirates and wide receiver coach, mentor to Justin Hardy. Let's see what he has to say. Then we'll say, and we'll talk about it. I'm going to read you a little description. I want you to tell me what you think about it, of a draft profile. It says, coming off a record-setting college career in a small North Carolina football program, he upped his stock with a good postseason, but isn't a real speedster either. The 5'11" wide receiver who plays taller turned out to be faster than anybody thought. Not a burner, but he did run a 4.56 at the combine. He's a good possession catcher and a steady player. What do you think about that description?
Well, I don't think that's bad. I don't see that as a negative. He's not a 4-3 guy or a prototypical go beat you deep type guy. That's something that he's still working on, being a little bit more of a deep threat type of a guy. And, you know, because he's not big and he's not like blazing fast. What he is, though, is fast enough. There's a lot of guys in that league that don't run any faster than that have hung around for many, many years. And what he can do is he can get open, he can make catches, he can play in pressure situations, he can play without the ball, which is blocking or running, you know, other routes to get other guys open. He can play in the special teams. He would be a good tackler. He could be a gunner, you know, like Dwayne Harris has done, not only just be a returner, you know, for when he was with the Cowboys, but he was also the gunner that would go make tackles. The thing I say about Justin to everybody is that every day I came to work when he was on our team, I was really in a good mood. He's the type of guy that will make his coach be glad he works there.
You know what's wonderful about that answer is that was not his draft profile. That was the 1990 draft profile of wide receiver coach Ricky Proehl for the Carolina Panthers, who I believe is, you know, I think this is Justin Hardy type player. And Ricky Proehl stuck around in the league for 17 years. And I think that what he has constantly said publicly is that it doesn't take the physical attributes that jump off the page to be a great football player, but if you have a football mind and you're a football guy and you're smart and you're savvy, you can get it done in this league. Would you say that Justin Hardy is going to be able to have does he have those attributes to translate to the program game mentally?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see him playing. 17 years is incredible. I got a lot of respect for Proehl, obviously, and I know his sons as well that are coming along. They're going to all be good players too. I could see him because nobody's ever going to want him to leave. You know what I'm saying? He's like I say, he's that player that from the owner, especially the quarterback, and everybody on that team, they're going to always want him back. They're going to always want him back. He'll never wear his welcome out. They'll want him to stay and work for that organization when he does have to finally hang up his cleats too. So there's probably some similarities into to Proehl and Justin as well. And I don't think that's a negative. You know,
no, not at all. Certainly not.
In any way. So, yet at the same time, I could see Justin Hardy being in the Hall of Fame someday. Because, again, there's nothing you can say you can't do that he won't go prove you wrong at.
Well, Joey, that is Donnie Kirkpatrick. He's been with the ECU Pirates for 10 years. He stuck around through now as a coach through 2 regimes. You know, I mean, a regime change and they kept him. I think that says a lot about him as a coach. He is a players type coach, and you know he's going to say good things about his players. But Joey, first, how would you like to have a Ricky Proehl on the Carolina Panthers?
I think that would fill a huge hole in the organization. Not so much for the play on the field. That would be a part of it. But just for the example he would be able to set as a professional. How to watch film, how to practice, what they need to do to be the best wide receiver they can be.
Now, when you guys, Mel, what do you think about that? When you talk with a coach for the first time about one of their greatest potential player, and you compare him to a NFL great, somebody from North Carolina, 17 years in the league, he mentioned that he knows his kids, Ricky Proehl's kids, because one is playing at UNC Chapel Hill, I believe. So, you know, these guys are scouting and prepping them, and he said that they were going to be good football players. What do you think about that ending where he doesn't back down, though, and he doesn't put Proehl as the ceiling for Justin Hardy?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing, man. That jumped out of the interview to me to say he's got the possibility of ending up in the Hall of Fame. Wow. You know,
Insane.
That is, but that's exciting, man. Maybe we take him at 57.
Yeah, let's check out another clip from Donnie Kirkpatrick, ECU Pirates wide receiver coach. How have you seen him grow as a player over the last 4 years?
You know, and that's the beauty of it is he's not tapped out. I think his best football is way ahead of him because what I've seen him get better every year, and he was really good at the beginning, but he's so much stronger and so much quicker now than he was before, so he can separate from the better DBs, and he can get off the line of scrimmage. He can always really go get the ball and play it and catch it. He's learned so much about the game. He could teach the game right now. I mean, if I became a head coach tomorrow, I'd try to hire him to be the receiver coach because he would be great at it. He really understands the game and stuff like that. But he's become so much more physical than he was, you know, coming out of high school when he was a 157-pound little skinny kid.
Smoke Wagon, you're the unbiased one when it comes to Justin Hardy, likely, or the least biased out of this bunch. You've heard Ricky Prohl a lot. He's talked about how he isn't always locked into the prototypical wide receiver guy, the big guy that runs the 4.3, that has that's 6'3", 220 pounds. But he likes a guy that's heady on the field, that's savvy. A guy, what I always see is that he doesn't admit it, but I always feel like he says, he wants to say, a guy like me. You're the draft guy. What do you think about a guy like Justin Hardy, a guy that doesn't have the physical attributes that impress necessarily in Underwear Olympics, but he produces, and he works hard, and he understands the game? How do you feel about a guy like that joining the Carolina Panthers?
Oh, I have no problem with it. Speaking of Hardy, I heard this the other day, and I'm going to throw a name out at you. When they was comparing Hardy to an NFL player. And when they mentioned this guy I'm about to tell you, I said, sign him up. The player's name is Justin Hardy. Reminded this person, and he kind of when I looked into it, reminded me of a guy who used to play for the Baltimore Ravens by the name of Derek Mason. Do you remember? Does any of y'all remember Derek Mason?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
All that guy did was tough, make catches, and was clutch for all those years for Baltimore. And I see Hardy as the same type of player. A lot of draftniks and draft gurus and analysts and scouts and have made the Jarvis Landry comparison a lot to Justin Hardy. I mean, Mel's probably seen this. I don't think so. I think Hardy's a hair quicker. I think he's a better route runner, a hair bit better route runner, especially on slants and I can't remember, when you go out and comebacks, he'll go out and he'll come back real quick to the quarterback he had this year. Can't remember him.
Those type of almost like a curl route. Almost,
yeah, curl routes.
Where you know what, and you're right, is that you've said he's aggressive after the ball.
Yes.
And Joey, you know, you mentioned this to me when I was a kid. Me and Joey have known. Joey's known me since I was a baby almost. And Joey, one time in my early days of talking footballs, talked about how wide receivers have to go and attack the ball in the air rather than let it coming to them. And Justin Hardy attacks the football on plays that don't need to be attacked, what it looks like. And he does it consistently. And he hasn't been hurt. That's the other thing. He played 4 years of college. I don't know if he ever missed a game. So you talk about that toughness. Kirkpatrick mentioned that he was a great blocker. You know, I mean, maybe is he going to be the answer on the deep threat? No, right? But you're talking about a guy that could maybe put a decade in with your squad and be a consistent player. And I like that. All right, last clip from Kirkpatrick, and then we're going to move on.
He goes to work every day, from lifting weights to running sprints to working out, just all the time. He's just a football guy. You know, if he was a basketball player, you'd say he's a gym rat. He's always around their complex, always talking football, always asking me, what can I do better? How you think I did yesterday? You know, and just always wanting to find a way to be better. So it's really important to him. Yeah, he's really, really humble.
Now, T Money chimed in on this. He said I would take Hardy, Rashad Green, or Chris Conley anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th. What do you think about those names, and how? And then after you answer that, how much does that undeniable work ethic factor into a guy's success, you think, in the NFL?
Well, on those 3 names, I love the first 2. You know, I really love Green out of Florida State. I think he's probably the best route runner in the draft as far as just being consistently where he needs to be. He was better than Kelvin Benjamin 2 years ago when they were teammates. So that's one. And Conley, I really like, but I see him a little bit later in the draft, 5th or 6th round. He's a burner. And he's got a high ceiling, but he's not going to come in and be that number 2 right away, I don't think. I love Hardy. Take it. If he's there in the 3rd round, man, I'm pounding the table, jumping up and down. Got to take him, in my opinion. I wouldn't be mad if they take him at 57. And to your question, you heard Gettleman talk about today, you got to have somebody who is just not just wants to win, but somebody that hates to lose and somebody that's willing to pay the price and be there at the end. And Justin Hardy's the kind of guy that you want to put a cat on the hat. That dude loves football. I love that interview. That gives you some insight into what the kid's all about, man. I love it. I'm excited.
Yeah, guys, you can check out the full interview on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Panthers have the inside tip on ECU's Justin Hardy. Smoke, what do you think about Rashad Green and Chris Conley? We know Panthers Truth is in love with some Chris Conley.
I love Conley as well. I think he could be one of the best receivers to come out of this class. Like Mel said, his ceiling is really high. I think he was hit in Georgia's run first base offense. He reminds me so much of Terrell Owens. It's unreal. He catches the ball. He's whatever. The best way to describe Conley to me, Conley is what everyone wants Sammy Coates to be. That makes sense. Conley can do everything Coates does, but his drop issues are a minimum. I think he only dropped like 1 target, if I recall correctly, this year. Dropped 1 pass. That was it. So I like Conley. I like Hardy. I think I'm not as high on Green as some are. I think when Green gets to the NFL and meets some of them stronger DBs, he's in for a rude awakening. I just don't think he's got the body to hold up. But yes, I like Hardy. I like his Velcro hands. He's got those 10-inch hands. I think he made his quarterback look better than what ECU's quarterback really is. I think we're about to find that out at the next level. Like Conley. And as far as those two, as far as right in that range we're talking about, rounds 2, 3, 4, I'm all game. I'm game for any of those because we're not going to get the Whites or Coopers or Parkers. That's a pipe dream. And I don't like – everybody's high on this Perriman kid. I don't like him at all. He's got bust written all over that young man.
Who's that?
Perriman.
He is.
I'd take him in a heartbeat, man. He's my dude.
He had one of the worst drop percentages in the history of the NCAA.
Oh, yeah. His quarterback was trash, though. Always throwing behind him.
Got nothing to do with you dropping the ball, though.
when the ball's behind you, yeah, it is.
They don't count those, though.
I like, just to be fair, I like the guys we're talking about. I think that's where we're getting. I like Aguilar. Aguilar is going to be gone once we get him in the first round. But I have no problem with Hardy, Conley. I've seen some people throw Hackett out of K-State out there. Or Lockett, Lockett out of K-State.
Yeah, he could. What about Devin Smith? I like Devin Smith a lot. I like him in the second round guy. I mean, we're talking Deshaun Jackson.
I agree, Tony. The second round. I can't see him using a 25 on Smith either. But I like Hardy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. He's not flashy. He's just like Derek Mason, like the name. He's not flashy, but he's gonna grab the ball. You pay receivers to catch. You pay them to get open. You pay them to move the chains. That's what the NFL pays receivers to do. And he does all that. I mean, like I said, it ain't flashy. And I liked hearing the interview about the work ethic because if you're not going to work in the NFL, it's called not for long. You'll be gone in a year or two. There's always young bucks hungry for paychecks. So if he's got the work ethic, you're in all season, you're out all season to continue his craft to get better. I love guys like that. And GMs love them too because it's like, there's check the box, no worries. You know, I'll pay him his money. I got the guy going to show up training camp. He's going to be on the field. So, yeah, I'd love to see Hardy on this team. I think he replaces. I think I'll put it this way. This might be a little bold. If they draft someone like Justin Hardy, Gettle-Rhymes gets cut in training camp.
All right, Smoke Wagon, you have just cemented your invitation to come back on the show in the future.
All you got to do now is trash NC State, and you're welcome.
Oh, I can't do that, my man.
No.
Oh, my bad. Joe, you know what? It's time for your favorite segment. Backdoor Fiction!
This is my favorite part of the show.
It's Joe's favorite part of the show because he doesn't understand what I say.
It's
Joe,
backdoor friction.
Backdoor Friction. It's time for a little fact or fiction where I pose a thought to you. You tell me if it's fact or if it's fiction. We're going to do it a lot like we did. Finish that thought. Everybody gets their own. Joe, fact or fiction. We draft offense in the first 2 rounds of the 2015 NFL Draft.
Fact.
Deep thoughts with Joe Riolano.
That is a fact. I think we will address receiver, offensive lineman, or offensive lineman running back, or receiver running back in the first 2 rounds. If we don't trade, if we don't make any moves, assuming we don't make any moves.
Mel, fact or fiction, the Carolina Panthers will get away without drafting an offensive tackle in the 2015 draft. I know Smoke Wagon doesn't like this because his favorite stat is you can't go 4 years. Something like that. He said 3 or 4 years.
Man, you know, even if he takes somebody in the 6th or 7th round, he's got to pick somebody. So I'm going to say fiction. He can't do it again. So, can't do it again.
He doesn't reach. All right, Smoke. Fact or fiction, Dave Gettleman picks defensive line, defense at some place that we don't expect it prior to the 3rd round, so 1st or 2nd round, just to spite us.
Fact. They're one thing he said today, I think they go a cornerback by the 2nd round. I think that's going to be cornerbacks in play.
Look out for Quentin Rollins. I think he's on our radar.
Because he actually tipped his hand a little bit, if y'all listened to the press conference today, and said they were him, Rivera, McDermott, Wilkes, all standing watching the cornerbacks at the combine. He said there was 11 of them worth the NFL. So you only got 11 really in their minds worth choosing from. Come that 2nd round, he could be in the 1st. Kevin Johnson's a name I keep hearing a lot linked here to Carolina.
I like him a lot.
Out of Wake Forest, cornerback out of Wake Forest, but I think they go offensive tackle, cornerback, wide receiver. That's their first 3 picks.
Nice.
Joe, you're getting some love on Twitter. 252, 3rd number 250. That's not 252.
That's an area code. 252.
That's
where I grew up.
All right, that's right. That's my area code.
Exactly.
So I should know that. I was like, that's a number. I was like, damn, man, we're gonna be covering the draft for decades.
Hey, guys, I know we're running a little bit short on time, but if you watched the press conference, see, I took a couple classes in nonverbal communication, and when Dave Gettleman was asked about running backs and was he going to take one and was he going to take somebody with an ACL, he was rubbing his face, scratching his neck. He was uncomfortable. He didn't want to answer that. So look for a running back first couple rounds.
I like to comment on 2 things you said. First, Smoke Wagon wrote a great piece, and this was a while back. This has been at least a month and a half, 2 months ago, about how you can expect the Carolina Panthers to pick a running back in the 4th round or before, because of the idea of what Dave Gettleman has done is learned from his mistakes in some ways, and he's tried to pick a running back late in the draft that he thought that might be that kind of diamond in the, maybe not diamond in the rough, but maybe a guy that you could develop, find a good situational guy, and it hasn't worked. And right now we know the running back position, I think he did tip his hand on this, is more important than we're giving it credit for with the Carolina Panthers. I don't expect Jonathan Stewart to be a Carolina Panther after this season.
I agree.
I just really don't. I mean, the injury problems we've spent a lot of money on him. You're not going to sign unless it was just for such a discount. But I think it's time for a new era. And at some point you got to commit to a position. Now, if that's the 3rd round for a running back, if it's the 2nd round, so be it. So I don't think it necessarily means a 1st round. And the other thing, though, I'd like to note, too, is I'm not comfortable with us taking a Boye or a Gobi, whatever it is, from Texas A&M, a big man coming off a knee injury. I don't know. You better be 100% confident in his ability to not to come back, but I'm talking about his ability to be the player that you wanted him to be pre-injury. I mean, there should be no questions surrounding that guy. Because now, if we get him in the 3rd, now we're talking. Is he going to drop that far, Smoke?
No, he's going to go.
Is he really that good?
He's good enough. Here's the deal with his ACL. I think it's a misnomer. It wasn't that bad. He tore his ACL in the bowl game, didn't even know he'd done it, and finished the game. I mean, that's how – I don't believe it's a lot of damage in there.
Can I say one person's name, though?
Nope. Yeah, go ahead.
Jeff Otah.
Jeff Otah couldn't keep away from the Golden Corrals. That was his problem.
True. That's true. And have you seen our boy? That dude is built like a rock.
He's in very good shape.
He doesn't like Golden Corral. He likes the salad place nearby. Yeah, right. All right.
He likes McAllister's Deli.
Yeah, whatever. He eats sushi.
I think he could be in play because, like I said, the very first part of the offseason, I've never seen Gettleman mention a college prospect by name. If you go back and he mentioned Oboye at a end of the year press conference saying, "Oh, that was a crying shame that kid got hurt." So that obviously he was paying attention to him. He was paying attention to him for over a year. Mm-hmm. So I think it's Pete. Like I said, I think they're high on Pete. I think a Wavy is a fallback option. I think this Shaq Thompson mess I keep hearing is a smokescreen, in my opinion.
I want to see this O'Hare kid play, man.
Oh yeah. They made a movie about it.
By the way, Sandra Bullock just got named like top 50 or top 25 hottest older women or something like that. ECU grad, by the way, folks.
No, she got most beautiful.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. I think it was one of those magazines. Yep, most beautiful.
Still throwing it back to Speed, baby. I still love that movie. With your little bob cut. Guys, we got a special treat. We're gonna pound on. We got a couple more minutes. We've got to squeeze this in. Luckily, we were able to talk with a kind of giant among Panther broadcasters, Joe Menzer, journalist, should I say. He writes for Bleacher Reports. 14 or 11 years with the Winston-Salem Journal, also with Carolina Panthers, with Panthers.com right now. Man, I got to say, great job, Mel, for lining this up, and here we go. We're going to jump into it right away. A C3 exclusive.
Well, thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the C3 podcast, where we bring the fan perspective, because without fans, football is just a kid's game. And today, I have the pleasure to talk with one of my very favorite Panther writers of all time, Joe Menzer. Joe Menzer is an award-winning writer who has authored 6 books and covered the Carolina Panthers for over 11 years for the Winston-Salem Journal. He's also covered NASCAR for NASCAR.com and is currently the digital content producer for Fox Sports, and is a featured writer over at the Bleacher Report as well. So, Joe, thanks for joining us. It's a great honor to have you on tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me.
To ask you how you came to be the beat writer for the Carolina Panthers. I know that you started with the Winston-Salem Journal, I believe, in 1995.
I actually came. I did come down here to North Carolina when the Panthers started up. Prior to that, I covered the NBA for about 11 seasons in Cleveland. Covered the Cleveland Cavaliers, 10 full seasons, and that was a great job as well, and I enjoyed it very much. Except that my wife and I started having kids, and when you start trying to go out the door on a road trip, and back then the NBA was a little different. I remember one time we went on the West Coast and we were gone. I think we started in Texas and ended in Denver and hit the West Coast in between, and then we were gone for like 17 days. So the NFL was a much better fit for my family and I, and the weather in Charlotte is much nicer than Cleveland, although Cleveland is very nice for the short 4 months that it's not winter. A great town. But so that's how I ended up in Charlotte. A friend of mine who worked at the Winston-Salem Journal, John DeLong, covered the NBA. I knew him through our mutual NBA beat, and when the job came open for an NFL writer, he suggested that I apply for it, and I did, and I got it. And that's how I ended up covering the Panthers. I got down here right before the first draft. I started in March, I think, at the end of March 1995. It might have been the very beginning of April, and the draft was literally just a few weeks away when I started. So I kind of just jumped right into it with both feet and hit the ground running, and did it for almost 12 seasons.
Wow, so that was almost 20 years ago this month, huh?
Yeah, and that's something. Yeah, time really does fly. It's a cliche, but true. And those were interesting times. They were practicing in Rock Hill and at Winthrop University. They were playing their home games that first year at Clemson while the stadium was being built in Charlotte, and they had some real characters on those early teams. So it was a very interesting time. And then, of course, the second season they ended up all of a sudden, going on a run and being very good. And I won't say they came close to the Super Bowl only because they were really overmatched in that NFC Championship game in Green Bay. But still, to get that far and to beat the Cowboys in the playoffs, who were the defending champions at the time, that was just a really special season that Panther fans still remember very fondly, and they should.
Mel, you did a wonderful job with this interview, and I had to, for the sake of time, just because, first, I've been holding on to this. We've had player interviews. We've had coaches interviews. We have had the draft. I mean, it has just been a whirlwind on the C3 podcast for the last 3 weeks. And we have been holding on to this for about 2 weeks now, and we wanted to use it. So I've kind of talked about, I clipped out a little bit about how much he meant personally to you as a writer. How good, what kind of journalist are we speaking with when it comes to Joe Menzer?
He's world class, man. We're going to be giving away one of his books here in the fantasy football season, autographed. But this guy put out 2 books. Nice.
Two books. He sent a Four Corners book. I got it yesterday.
Nice. He's got he's published 6 books. Right. Talk about Four Corners. About how NC State, Wake Forest, Duke, and Carolina define basketball in the state. He's got a book about NASCAR. He's got a book about the Carolina Panthers and the best first season by an expansion team ever. Go check the guy out. He is a world-class writer. And out on CarolinaCatChronicles.com, we're going to put the entire interview up. There's one piece on there I asked him to give some of the young writers out there some advice on how to get into the business, and he had some interesting things to say. I don't think we have time to show that to play that tonight, but if you're an aspiring writer, go check out the full interview, man. You got to hear what the legend has to say. He's great.
Yeah, man, he was wonderful. He's very gracious. We got one more clip we're gonna spin with Joe Menzer real quick.
I think I know which one it might be.
No, I didn't. I didn't do it. I didn't do
okay.
it just for you. I spared you.
You've been covering the Panthers from day one. You actually even authored a great book called Carolina Panthers, first season of the most successful expansion team in history, in NFL history, and you're kind enough to send us an autographed copy of that we're going to be giving away through CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Talk to me a little bit about, there's so many stories, right, even past the time of that book. In your career, there was the Ray Caruth story. There was Sean Gilbert signing, which you recently wrote an article about. There was the trip to the Super Bowl, so on and so forth. Is there one big story that, at the end of the day that you remember that stands out more than the rest?
I would say that the one story that stands out the most to me personally is the way Sam Mills fought cancer and was an inspiration to the team while he did so, and continues to be today. Without hesitation, I have to say that Sam, of all the athletes that I've covered through the many years that I've done this, he remains one of the classiest and just great all-around guys that I've ever dealt with. And he was that way before he was sick. He didn't change, but the way he carried himself and the way he didn't let that beat him down to the very end, and just fought and fought and fought, and of course, keep pounding is still a phrase that the team uses, and they got that from Sam. And Mark Fields was going through a little bit of that himself at the same time, and but Sam, to me, epitomizes what a professional athlete should be in terms of the way he played, the way he carried himself on and off the field, the way he dealt with the media, all of that stuff, how great of a teammate he was. And I would say, without hesitation, my years with the Panthers, Sam Mills is the most memorable most memorable storyline that I covered. And yes, I mean, there was the Ray Caruth thing, there was the Fred Lane. Fred Lane was a great story, the way he came out of nowhere to become a star on the team, and then, of course, his tragic death. There are all those things as well. There are a lot of other, but those stories are kind of downers. I mean, I prefer to remember the Sam Mills stories. To me, tops them all anyway.
That is the crux of who the Carolina Panthers are, I think. So that's great that you brought that up.
Joe, sometimes I feel like this is that I'm overwhelmed by life and the emotion of life and all of these different things. And, you hear the keep pounding. I use the hashtag. We see it inside of our jerseys. Joe, how much does this mean to you to hear someone? I felt like this was genuine right here. And a genuine reference to this story, more so than what we find just in passing that we use to so often. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like he has a genuineness because he experienced it. He talked to Sam Mills, he engaged him on a very regular basis. So I'm sure it's something that hits very close to home with him, having known the man who came up with the phrase of keep pounding. My situation, and I take that to heart. There are days when I don't necessarily want to do things, but I know that I have to keep pounding and plodding along, because if I don't, I face serious repercussions. And that's anyone with life. Everyone in life has those days where they don't want to do whatever their responsibilities are for the day, but you got to keep pounding. That's all you can do.
Word up. Smoke, one of the things that he talked about a lot was, he talked about the kind of history of the game when we spoke with him, and how how things have changed, when it's come to the internet and the way we cover things. And I feel like that when you follow things, that you follow things a little deeper than, or a lot deeper than most people do. Do you feel that that guys like that Joe Menzer bring that kind of important gravity to sports that may be lost on just the regular blogger?
The people like Misner is a lost art. In today's society, I think everyone will agree, it's got to be now, quick tidbits, quick bits, quick bites, snippets. Oh, that's the story, let's run with it. Misner's the kind of writer, I don't say writers, but journalistic writer, in depth. He was the type of guy, he would have had Sam Mills hang out at the local coffee shop, have a cup of coffee, a piece of pie, and tell stories.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll let you keep going there. My favorite part of that interview, you got to go listen to it on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You remember Brad Daugherty, played for UNC, went on to play for Cleveland Cavaliers. He talked about riding in the back of a bus talking about Andy Griffith episodes with Brad Daugherty. That doesn't happen anymore.
Never.
Just like this, like out of the example I was alluding to, just sit in a diner or hang out on someone's barbecue, maybe, so just invited over for supper one night, and down in the basement.
Somebody's smoke wagon?
Yeah. you can pull, I mean, it just doesn't happen. I mean, and you can tell that because the stories would not come, it would be an in-depth, like, oh, by the way, he's doing all this, but his sixth grade daughter just got an A in art.
Right.
It'd be things like that within the story, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And how much more Sam Mills, we're going to use Sam Mills as an example. I don't know if this is true or not, but just example. And say he would have wrote that in the story, and Sam would have said, yeah, I was very proud of her that day. I actually skipped practice and went and saw her presentation of her art project. And he'd have went in depth about how that meant more to him than being at practice that day, but then he'd have turned around and said, I'd be there for my teammates on Sunday. Things like that. It's a lost art. A lot of people are just speed bangers, a lot of speed banging going. I mean, you know what I mean? Just like, boom, boom, I got to tell you this. And, Mesner put more of a personal touch to things. Now more people want to tear down things than uplift things now in writing, if that makes a lot of sense. It's like, what haven't you done? Or, you can't do that. You obviously can't have it. Or words used. Or
right.
Instead of like, yeah, he was limited by this, but he made it work. Things like that. But, yeah, I like old school stuff like that a lot. Because that's how you get to know something. You get to know somebody. You get to you can cut through the BS.
And you get to connect with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really it. You can connect with somebody that if you get enough information.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'd love to learn more. I mean, but also this time in the time frame he was there, not just Ray Caruth, Fred Lane, Bobby Fields, the Charlotte Agents in that time era. That tragedy that happened in Charlotte, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he was there in a lot of time of tragedy, but was able to shed light on what those kind of players either brought or did for that town or what they were really about. That makes sense.
I love that. I like that. And you know what? The reason I went to you on this, Smoke, is because of how closely I watch how you follow the Carolina Panthers in golf. Not as cool as to me as Carolina, but there's a meticulousness to it that shows that it's really important to you as an individual. I don't think that not any of us think it's really important. I think we think it's important to us.
Yeah.
And Menzer does that. So, in the spirit of that, guys, in this wonderfulness of society, I'm going to do the complete opposite, and it's time for our favorite segment, the Ice Up Sun segment of the week. Thank you, Joe. We'll let you do your wheelhouse. I'll stick to mine. Guys, it's the Ice Up segment of the show where we tell somebody, anybody, someone in the world to ice up, to toughen up, to get their mess together. Joe, I know you're ready to go. Do you have an ice cold pick for us this week?
I do. My pick this week is a guy who is high on, well, was high on some people's draft boards, I'm sure.
That's a very good analogy.
Yeah.
Mr. Shane Ray, formerly of the Missouri Tigers, now was considered by some the top pass rushing, and had some issues with turf toe. So there were some teams that were beginning to sway and wonder whether or not this was their guy because of this turf toe injury. Some people said it needed surgery, others said it doesn't. And then over the weekend, Mr. Shane Ray gets pulled over. I think it was for a bad tail light, I think is what it was. But anyway, he gets pulled over. He gets pulled over, and the policeman says there was a strong odor of fresh marijuana, is what he is, I believe, the term the officer used. And lo and behold, Mr. Shane Ray is in possession of cannabis sativa. So,
can't you send your boy to get it?
I know.
Exactly. We are, within a week, we are 4 or 5 days away from signing a multi-million-dollar contract. You're going to have so much money that your children will never have to worry about money. Maybe your children's children, if you're good with it. And you got to go and you got to get probably some get-down brown swag.
No, it smelled fresh.
Yeah, it could have been. Maybe it was some kind bud. But anyway, you couldn't wait. For crying out loud, you couldn't wait. You got the draft coming up. You couldn't wait till another time. You can't wait 4 or 5 days.
Till this weekend, maybe. Yeah,
maybe.
wait till Saturday. Yeah.
And now he's going from the penthouse to probably the 9th or 10th floor.
Joe, can you hear this? Can you hear this right here?
The sound of silence.
Okay, dang, I thought it was going to play. I want to talk to Samson. Fly me to the moon.
Anyway, this guy dropped the ball for himself and his family. He really did. Nobody knows where he's going to go now. Some teams are going to really, I think he's going to just mark him off the list completely. So I say to you, Mr. I can't wait till the weekend. I got to have my weed now. Shane Ray. Ice up, son.
Ice up, son. Send your boy to the store. Send your boy on the run. Guys, man, ice up. Ice cold. Smoke, do you got an ice up, son pick of the week for us?
I do, actually.
Come on strong.
My ice up, son, is the contradictory nature of the NFL. This Thursday night will be one of the biggest night in that business, that league's year. And it'll be the first time in recent memory that the number one pick will not be there to go on stage and shake Roger Goodell's hand. What came to light today is Roger Goodell supposedly, we will quotation, supposedly asked Jameis Winston not to attend because he felt it looked bad on the league's domestic violence issue.
Wow.
Oh.
So,
a schmuck.
Exactly.
Whoa.
So the guy in order to save face and continue with this, issue at hand, and he'd much rather ask a young man that has been questioned to death before he is drafted. Remember, we're drafting a football player here. He hasn't made one mistake under the CBA. He's not under contract in the NFL, but ask him not to show up on at least what could be one of the biggest nights of his life and be known as the #1 pick of the 2015 NFL Draft. That is my ice up son of the moment. That Roger Goodell is the most hypocritical commissioner of any major sports franchise in America.
And I got a feeling he's going to get booed Thursday night.
I agree completely. I agree.
I know one place he's going to get booed, on the C3 draft party on Thursday.
Oh, man.
Joe, you going to boo him?
Oh, yeah, I'm booing him. I agree. I completely agree. I think he...
And,
yes.
And add to that real quick today, which is funny, is Tampa Bay came out, I believe, earlier today and said they have interviewed 75 people, basically went back to the conception of Jameis Winston in the womb and found out everything about it. But people are wondering why they are not asking the alleged victim or, why did they not bring them into this? And they said, what franchise does that? Who gets the victim's take unless the victim is willing to cooperate and say? So from all signs, they're good to go on Winston and wait, and giving him the leash. We're going, we believe in you. If they're willing to do this, why isn't Goodell let the young man at least go across the stage until he messes up, not preemptive mess up?
Because this is a shitstorm for the NFL, and they handle all of this terribly, and not because any of this is okay and acceptable. Not that we condone any of this behavior, especially I don't really care for Jameis Winston, his behavior. I feel like these are some very serious accusations that go far beyond some of the things that we made. But like the Ray Rice thing, I mean, he knocked that chick out.
Yes.
And I mean, he just clear knocked her out. Now, what the circumstance, I mean, it doesn't matter. The point is the NFL is looking out for the NFL, and they need to just own up to that. Yes. They need to say this, fine, we're just looking out for this billion-dollar industry, not that we really care about any of this shit. So I'm with you on the ice up. Mel, you got an ice up son pick of the week for us.
I do. And, started out the show talking about, a big thanks to all of our troops out there, and follower Joe Satin, who's being deployed today, going only God knows where, and the U.S. government knows where. So, good luck to him. What I have to say is, what we do every Tuesday night, what we're doing on Thursday night and this weekend, and what we do every fall is we love football, man. And we take it serious, but we also know it is football. It is not real life. And, people love football. We love the game, and we all have our opinions. My ice up goes to these jackwagons out there on Twitter and Facebook that jump on somebody that has an opinion. Somebody puts out a mock draft and says, I like so-and-so. Somebody's got to jump on and say that you're a moron, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, so on and so forth, and you don't see what I see, you're an idiot, and they take it personal and blow it up and get ticked off, and just take the fun out of it, man. That's what we're here for. We're here to have fun. We're fans. Nobody says, I'm Joe Menzer, right? I'm not trying to be a reporter. I'm not reporting facts. And you know what? I really don't care. You can jump on my mock drafts all you want. I like Rashad Perriman. You guys can jump on me for that. That's
I hate that jackass. He beat the damn ECU Pirates with a Hail Mary.
Well, hey, if you saw the picture I tweeted out about a half hour ago of that nice, classy woman, that was right after that moment. That was right after. It was right after that moment. It was pretty awful. But for everybody who tries to take the fun out of football, out of the fandom of it all, hey, by the way, we're giving away one of these shirts Thursday night. Join in on the C3 draft party. Ice up, son. That's the shirt we're giving away right there if you're an XL. You got to be an XL to get it. But we're going to have a lot of fun Thursday night. And for anybody who's going to try to take the fun out of it, ice up, son, and go be a Falcons fan.
and hit him with a gefilte fish.
I tried to help you out. I tried to help you out on that.
There you go.
I got one for you right here. Is our boy T-Money Straight Facts hit us up with the ultimate. He's dropping the frigid ice up pick. I gotta read this. I know we're way over time. His ice up pick of the week goes to Dante Rumpf, and I don't know if I mispronounced his name. Former Atlanta defensive tackle who has decided to live in a tent on the facility, trying to earn his way back onto the team. Who felt wronged for being cut on Hard Knocks, and his nickname is Cupcake. This is from you, from Straight Facts, giving you the Ice Up Son pick of the week.
Boy, he said all that in 140 characters or less.
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
That was 2 tweets. 280.
Awesome.
280, baby.
Nice job.
Here's my Ice Up pick of the week. Once again goes to Greg Hardy. Damn, I want to be done with you, son. And I know this is lame. I didn't really think about my Ice Up pick that much until you guys were talking. So here's the Greg Hardy, though, guys. Is a man suspended 10 games, had a tough year, all of these problems, goes to Dallas, gets in a verbal altercation, whatever the hell that is, which we all know what it is, but still, like, immediately, the first 5 seconds he's in Dallas, he's got a problem with another teammate. That guy also called him a wife beater or woman beater or something, too. He instigated it a lot. But here goes Greg Hardy. Good things happen to good people. Bad things happen to bad people. And, bro, you're in Dallas, and your Bentley gets hit with a flash flood. And your Bentley is flooded. So you get in an argument with a player in the first 5 minutes. Your Bentley gets flooded.
And abandoned.
Yes, and abandoned. But all I got to say is this. I don't know who's laughing more, him or me. Obviously him, because he pulled away from this misery in a Lambo. Oh, poor fella. But this goes to you, Greg Hardy, you rich-ass mofo. Ice up, son.
Ice up, Mr. Greg Hardy.
This is the C3 Podcast. You can catch us every Tuesday night for the hottest Panther fan talk. Real quick, Joe, where can they get after you on Twitter?
On Twitter, you guys can hit me up at Joe Riolano, the freaking Puerto Rican.
Word up, Mel Mayock, the draft guru, who feels unappreciated at times by Atlanta fans, and that's okay because they suck. Tell us how they can find you on Twitter.
You can find me anywhere. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. You can see us right there on my bottom third at Panthers Drafter. Check us out. We're talking all the time, and we always have new articles going up out there on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Check them out. I'm also the draft analyst over at DraftTech.com. Got the last mock draft of the year coming out Thursday morning. Check that out, and please check us out this Thursday night live throughout the first round of the draft. Man, we're going to have a C3 draft party. It's going to be epic.
It is going to be a party.
It's going to be a big party. Sam, my boy, Smoke Wagon, thank you so much for coming on the show. You were great. The insight was tremendous. How can people follow you on Twitter for that meticulous Panther fan talk?
Well, they can follow me at Sam F. Slater is my Twitter address, or just look for Smoke Wagon, either one. I'm the one with the Bluetooth icon on the side. It ain't hard to find. Ain't too many of them out there that I've seen so far, so...
That's right. This is the C3 Podcast, and you know we bring it to you strong every Tuesday night, where you feel it in your kishkis, folks, and you can feel some more of that in the kishkis on Thursday night when the Panthers make their run to the Super Bowl. Thanks for tuning in. My boy Straight Facts, bringing it hard with the Ice Up Son of the Week. That is the show, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.